Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council's Gallery Reception Series. We have these virtual receptions of our artists who are exhibiting their work in our gallery located in downtown Marshall, Minnesota. If you have a chance, please come and take a look at what is currently exhibiting at 509 West Main Street in Marshall. I am Nicole DeBoer. I am the director of the Arts Council. We are so delighted to have Angie Guptill's work in our gallery for 2 months, or almost 2 months. So we are on the second half of her gallery exhibit. Her in-person reception, I'm looking at a postcard, was Thursday, January 9th. And maybe you were there and maybe not. She had a good crowd there. People were just enamored with her beautiful pottery pieces. She sold a lot of work. We are always so glad for that for our artists. Our gallery, as just a little background, is meant to give artists who have received a grant from us, because we are primarily a grant funder, give artists who have received a grant from us the chance to have a solo exhibit. And not in Angie's case, but in a lot of other artists' cases, it is the first time they've ever had the chance to have a solo exhibit. So that's what we reserve our space for. We don't take any commissions on the works. The artist gets the full price of the piece, and we just want to see them grow as artists and be exposed to more and more communities. So we're just so pleased to have Angie. Her work is so cohesive. It sets together so beautifully, but it also really fits in vignettes. So as you're looking at her work, you'll see in the video that we're going to show you pieces kind of sequentially. You'll be like, oh, those all really work together really well, and they do. And so as we have them setting on tables, they just look gorgeous together. I am going to read you, and this is always a good challenge for me because I never pre-read and practice. So bear with me. I'm going to read you Angie's bio that she provided to us. And then we're going to watch a video of her gallery exhibit. And then I'm going to toss it over to Angie, have her fill in any blanks that I might have missed, and then open it up for questions or comments or whatever people might want to ask her. We've got her for a little bit of time here tonight. So, Angie Guptill. As a potter with 7 years of experience creating functional art, my work reflects my love for large animals, the Western lifestyle, and the natural world. Growing up surrounded by horses and cattle, I was immersed in things that brought me comfort and peace, and they continue to inspire my art today. After working professionally, mass producing and creating urns under a funeral home distributor, it is a breath of fresh air to be starting my own ceramic journey, creating art that reflects my own interests in life. Whether throwing on the wheel or riding in a saddle, the feelings are the same. First, the complete rush of excitement, followed by the calming peace that feeds my soul. I love throwing soft, curved pieces that remind me of the muscular structure of horses and cattle. I'm inspired by Western art and artists alike. Whether their canvas be a hand tool belt or saddle, or carefully carved belt buckle, I find them all beautiful. After my vessels have been fired, it's extremely important to me that they have some earthiness about them. I choose glazes that remind me of organic weathered objects, natural stones, flowing water, and the animals that I love. I paint all of my glazes by hand because I feel it connects me more to the pieces. It is completely therapeutic to me running a brush over the dry bisque vessels and watching them slowly soak in the glaze while being patient in the process. Much like with horses and cows, patience is a key for a positive outcome. Personally, pottery is not just about creating mass amounts of objects to be sold. It is pouring your soul into something that is unique and a reflection of the natural world. I embrace imperfections because nothing natural is perfect, and some things are just simply out of our control. Through my pieces, I hope to inspire others to connect with their environments and find beauty in the imperfections of life. When I'm not throwing on the wheel, painting, or designing on the computer, I can be found outside with my family and animals on our peaceful acreage west of Canby Mill. And so my friend Crystal from our office has developed this beautiful video that will show you each individual piece and also groupings. And so without further ado, I hand it over to Crystal and her beautiful kitty cat to run the video. What a beautiful show. Really, really blessed to be able to come to work every day and take a look at pieces, spend some time on some breaks and be able to look at the work every day up close. So thank you, Angie, for your work. Did I miss anything, Angie?
No, I think you covered everything. Like pictures were great. It's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. Her show is at our gallery until February 28th. That is a Friday. So we will be closing the show when our office closes at 4 o'clock on Friday, the 28th. So you've got Monday through Fridays, mornings or afternoons to stop in and see the show. You got plenty of time here. There's a lot of dates left in February. Um, if you're on and you have purchased something, we will work with Angie to make sure that either we keep the piece that you purchased in our office so you can pick it up after the 28th, or I'm sure she can figure out how to get to some of you who are more local to the Canby area. So stop by and see her work. And now this part of the virtual reception is Angie's here. She's welcome to answer questions you might have of her or just receive your compliments. If you want to go off mute, you don't have to raise your hand or anything. Just as there's space to ask a question, please do.
Well, I can just ask about your process, Angie. How do you, I mean, what comes first, like the idea, or do you start, how do you start forming the ideas you have, or do you usually go by request, or how does that all happen?
Typically, I take a lot of pictures. My phone is full of like animal pictures. Like I have pictures from when I had my horse, my cows at all stages of their lives, and basically I go through that, and then I find one, and I'm like, huh, I wonder how I could like utilize this on my art somehow. So like, for example, one of the pieces that I have is like a cow stepping off of the base or whatever, and so I had the idea of it coming off, like it's coming towards you. And so then I throw the piece and kind of estimate how big it has to be, and then slowly like sculpt on top of that. So yeah, it's quite a process. Like as I'm going, I'm learning a lot about sculpting. Like with clay, you have to be very careful with drying. If you dry too fast, you end up with cracks. And if you dry too slow, well, it takes forever then. So there's like a fine balance there that you have to find when you're doing that. But yeah, I really like sculpting and I hope to continue doing it. Like I have a long way to go because I look at like my cow and my buffalo and it's like, those aren't very good. Like, but you got to start somewhere and then, build up. Like those are actually one of like the first ones I did, and the cow was actually the last. So it's kind of neat to see like where I started, where I ended up. So I don't know. It's just neat to look back sometimes and notice those little like changes in how you're improving your art. And yeah.
Did you have any background in sculpting before? Like I know you've been doing the pottery for a long time. So did you have more of that, or is that a more recent development with the sculpture part added on?
That's kind of a more recent thing. In college, I did a lot of carving. Like I didn't know how to throw. I'm gonna be honest. Like everything I threw was like super heavy and really thick. So like to compensate for that, I'd carve. Well, now I can throw really thin, and that's kind of a problem too, because then I want to carve it, and it's like, oh geez, this is really thin. I can't get too aggressive with things. So it makes sense to like build on the piece and then carve away. But um, I did take a sculpture class in college, but it was like a robotics and like totally nothing like what I'm doing now. But I suppose that helped a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
I really like your glazes, and I was curious if you have sort of favorite combinations that you use all the time. Are you always experimenting? And more about your process. You said you kind of paint them on very particularly.
So there are a few that I really like, and it seems like the ones that I really like the most take the most time. Like there's one, like the turquoise ones. That's 3 different glazes on there. And like the 3 different glazes have 3 different coats. So 3, 6, 9 coats of glaze on one piece. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been playing around with glazes quite a bit actually. When I did my job in Sleepy Eye, it was a spray booth because that was fast, quick, and I could get it done like, you know, out the door. But this, I'm like having more fun, like experimenting with stuff that can run. Um, when I was using Joyce and Randy Meyer's kiln over here in Canby, like I was always worried to like use anything that's gonna run off my piece. Because like you don't want to wreck their kiln shelves. And then like that's costly if I have to replace that for them. So having my own kiln and being able to experiment with those glazes and like, you know, not so worried about things dripping because I know how to take care of it with cookies and whatnot, like pieces of clay that you put under your piece. So if it runs, you don't damage shelves. But yeah, it's been quite an adventure with like the different glazes and like how they react to one another. It's like a science. Um, some glazes play nice with each other, and other glazes like you'll end up with bubbles or like I don't know little defects. Like it'll like repel off of it. Like it's interesting, and I've been experimenting quite a bit actually. So yeah, there's quite a few though that I gravitate towards. They're all pretty like neutral colors. Nothing bright and in your face, I guess. If that answers your question.
And as I said real earlier in this, all your pieces look so beautiful together. And I think that's because you're working with a palette of glazes that's really complementary. So yeah, so beautiful. My question is, what are your dreams? What do you want? What's like a big dream to do? Like, I don't know, different size, like work really large, or I mean, your sculpting is pretty amazing. Would you ever go to bronze? Would you ever go to pouring?
Yeah, if I could find somebody maybe to teach me. I've never done like casting or bronze sculpture, but that would be something really neat to like experiment sometime with. I'd probably have to take a class somewhere else, but I don't know. I do like doing larger forms. Um, these ones that I did are a little on the smaller side, but still take up quite a bit of room in the kiln. Um, the only problem with the larger ones, like if I were to do large, like I would probably need my husband's help to like lift them and into the kiln because the way my kiln is, you have to set things down inside of it. It's not the one where you set it on a shelf and roll it in. So it's going to take a little more, I don't know what you would say, engineering. But yeah, I don't know. Um, goals that I have, I would like to be in more galleries. That would be kind of a neat thing to experiment with, like try to get into, put myself out there to get into more of the larger galleries. Um, I kind of put my name in a couple times for the summer for art fairs. I've never done an art fair in my life. So that's been kind of a big like goal for me. If these go well, I would like to try to get into the South Dakota Stock Show someday because my stuff would probably fit in pretty good out there. I think it would be well received. Yeah, I don't know. I want to keep going. I would like to have a larger space to work, but right now my basement bathroom works and our basement living area is just fine. But eventually I would like a larger area to create. We'll see though.
So this is just pure curiosity on my part. When you were talking about getting into like the stock show and stuff, have you ever been to the Minnesota Horse Expo at the state fairgrounds? Okay.
That would be awesome too.
Yeah.
I haven't been to that one though. That would be kind of neat.
We go every year, but I think lots of people are there shopping. I think your stuff would do pretty well there.
If I could scope it out and then see.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see you had jewelry among your pieces as well. What sort of brought about your interest in doing that? Was that something you'd been doing all along or a recent thing?
That's kind of a more recent thing. I've always liked jewelry and like little tiny, like intricate things. And like, I figured like, why not try like glazing like smaller pieces? Plus, when you have a kiln full of pieces, a lot of times you have a lot of open space, especially with bowls, because they take up a lot of room on the sides, but then you can still tuck stuff underneath. So I like to fire like a full kiln load. I don't like to fire like partial kiln fulls. Like I like to fit as many pieces as I can. And to me, that makes sense because like those smaller pieces, I can tuck them in wherever on the kiln shelves. Like I did a lot of research beforehand. Like I discovered high fire wire. I had no idea that existed before then. And I don't know, that's been kind of a game changer for me because you can do a lot with that, with sculpting, with jewelry, like adding pieces onto your pottery. So
SMAC has a, I might be speaking on a turn. Do we still have our gallery list on the website, Crystal?
Yeah, we do.
List
Yeah,
of
so if,
regional galleries.
yeah, so if you're
So,
looking for other galleries, we do have a list. Some of the hours might be a little outdated and stuff like that because we don't always know when they change them, but there is a list of regional galleries that if you want to look at and try contacting some to get information on how to exhibit there.
yeah, and it could be as easy, Angie, as just sending them the link to your exhibit video. You know, you could say, here's a whole catalog of my work on video. Enjoy. I would love to exhibit in your gallery. So SMAC is just so pleased to offer grants to individual artists. SMAC is a grant funder, as I mentioned before. We offer grants to artists. We also offer grants to arts organizations and really any nonprofit organization that wants to produce or create an art project in their community. We also offer grants to schools and youth. We have an art study opportunity grant for youth. So we have kind of a range of things that we offer as far as funding. So we were so happy to be able to help Angie with a kiln. And Angie has finished her grant and done all of her reporting. We allow our artists to apply for a second grant for something else that they may need to help them grow as an artist. So that is an opportunity for Angie as well as any artists in our 18 county region that also contains 2 sovereign nations. So that is a little about us. We have a new joiner and we are still happy to take comments on Angie's work or questions for Angie about her work.
Ooh. I don't know if you can hear me.
yes, I
We
hear
can.
Okay. Not used to Zooming.
Introduce yourself.
This is Ann Olson, and we saw your work on Monday, and had a nice tour through of what you had done, and I really liked I think it was the broken pieces and the greens. Reminded me of a slate floor that Mom has,
Wow.
as well as the two small bowls were really lovely, and of course the blue with the horses and the grasses in the bottom, that vase.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you want to share about your process or something. Oh, here's Mom.
Angie, this is Jody. Ann and I are sitting here eating supper and we finally got connected. I
I
like
did.
the copper connections,
Oh, thanks.
the plates with some, and I don't know how you do that. So maybe you'll have to, is the copper in on top of the clay somehow, or how does that?
Actually, just the glaze that I have
Oh, sure.
on a copper colored glaze that I've been playing around with. It's kind of a funny glaze. Like sometimes I refire pieces just to like, like let's say the glaze is thin in an area or something's like off or missing a spot of glaze or something, I'll refire it. And the copper actually gets crystals when it's refired, I found. So that's kind of a cool thing about that glaze.
I really love that, those crystals, like in your sculptures of the bull and the cow. The texture that it gives is really amazing. Yes. And for Ann and Jody's benefit, we did already cover process and everything and watched the whole video. So I tell you what, you're gonna have to come back to the website and rewatch the first half of this that we started at 5:30. So anything else anybody wants to ask or comment to Angie?
I just wanted to
Other-
mention, I love her stuff. It's just gorgeous, and I'm so glad she's getting back into it again.
Wow.
It is so gorgeous.
And I didn't know she did sculptures. I hadn't seen them before.
They're not very good. I have a ways to go about.
But you're doing it.
I'm doing it. Keep trying. That's how you get better, is you just keep plugging on.
Exactly.
So as I mentioned earlier, the exhibit is up until Friday, February 28th. We will wrap up that show when our office closes at 4 o'clock on that day. And we are just so happy to have Angie show her work. And we wish you the best. We hope you can tackle some of those goals you talked about and keep growing and keep expanding your reach so more and more people can see your work, because it is really to be applauded. So
She's getting some of her stuff out our way in South Dakota now, too.
that's great. That's great. So thank you everyone who joined us tonight for this little gathering. Unless there's anything else, I will let you all go on to getting prepared for some Minnesota weather tomorrow. Thank you all. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.